你好吗? Good. 我会说一点普通话。很一点, so I'm gonna speak English for our benefit. Okay, so let me go back. So my name is Brahim. As Samar said, I'm a product manager on the Play Store team. I work on a couple of things, but today I want to talk to you about commerce and monetization. One of the reasons why we're here is to make sure that all of you, developers based out of China, can now be successful selling your apps and goods globally. One of the key services we provide to you is payments. It is collecting payments from you, for you, from 130 plus countries, and then remitting that to you here in China. So I'm going to talk to you more about that over the next few minutes. Okay, so I couldn't help it but repeat this number. Chris Yerga mentioned this earlier, and the fact that we are where we are today is incredibly exciting to us as a team. Started on the team 3 years ago when things were very different, and having paid out over $5 billion in that 1 year time frame is incredibly exciting. And we think that with the help of all of you here in China, we will be even more successful, and we're just getting started. So just kind of another call out for that number, which for us is incredibly exciting. Okay. So we think of payments in terms of two main chunks of activities. One is you are building all these applications. These apps and games are ultimately driving a user to make a purchase, or obviously just have fun, but I'm a commerce guy, so it's about making a purchase. And as you drive more and more of your users towards that buy button, pressing that buy button, which is incredibly difficult, it is our responsibility on Google's side to actually convert as many of those users as possible. And so to do that, we've done a ton of work over the past couple of years I'm going to walk you through. But I'm also going to walk you through what things you can do within your applications to actually make sure that users successfully get to that step. So there are two kind of chunks of activities. There's you getting people to press that buy button, and then there's us converting more and more of those users around the world. Just as a frame of reference. Okay, so I'm going to start off a bit to talk about how an entrepreneur and how a business starts. Essentially, you're in a market you're familiar with. Let's not say that's Europe, let's say that's actually China. And you're thinking of an idea, you're building, you have a need, you have an opportunity you feel is really important. And at some point you say, I'm going to build an app that fulfills that need. And so you start off with the market you're most familiar with. You may then jump to another one that's somewhat close and that is somewhat familiar with you, that have a similar need. And then you expand to another market. And what's amazing is, all of a sudden, you're a global business. You're a global business. And in the past, this used to be a big deal. Companies used to restructure when they are a global business. Companies used to hire different kinds of people. But one thing that's important is for you, it happens so fast and it's so seamless that sometimes it kind of just happens and you operate the same way. You don't actually change the way you operate. But it's actually really important as you build these global businesses on top of Google Play, which we believe is an incredible global platform. As you build these businesses, that you think about it as a global business. You are all global businesses. I guarantee it. So that's another aspect. And what's exciting to us is that developers that earn most of their revenue from abroad, from outside their main market, their home market, they earn 2.5 times compared to those who don't. And so when you go global, when you take this step to drive most of your revenue from abroad, you're actually also earning much more. So keep that in mind. Now, what's exciting to us is this number. Over the past year, we've had 38% growth year over year in developers doing just that. Developers earning most of their revenue from outside their home market. This is important for us because, of course, we believe Google Play is the perfect global platform, being incredibly objective. And so when more and more users and more developers are taking advantage of it in that way, that makes us incredibly happy. And I know you guys, no, I'm kidding. You don't want to make us happy, it's fine. Okay, So that's another point. So starting off and talking about what are we doing on the Google side to make you successful globally. First off is reach. You can distribute your apps in over 190 countries. Today, with our launch, literally you can have users in that many countries. You can sell to users in over 130 markets. This is the point about you being a global business. You are going to have purchases from 20, 30 plus markets, right? That's a fact. And finally, we have 65 countries where you can tailor your pricing. And as we'll talk about later, that is actually particularly important to your users. So, broad reach, global reach. Again, the theme of you are a global business. Interestingly, as we went out and started building a payments and commerce platform, we realized that to actually be a global platform, you have to think very locally. You have to think about each users and their preferences in each market. And we spent a lot of time working on this. So for example, in the US, credit cards are the way to buy. They're essentially the frictionless payment method. In Asia, DCB and direct carrier billing, which is when you place your purchases on your carrier bill, on your monthly phone bill, is actually extremely popular. So two markets, both extremely large, both extremely successful, that use entirely different payment methods. China is no different. And so as you think about your markets and users that you have in those markets, you have to think locally in addition to that. So over the past year, we've actually launched Google Play gift cards in over 25 markets. We've launched carrier billing in over 28 markets. And we've launched PayPal in 19 markets. All of these steps are, again, to make sure that as users in different markets come to Google Play, that we convert as many of those users for you as possible. So when a user presses the buy button, we convert as many of those users as possible. That's our mission. And with these local forms of payment, we're able to do that, and I'll show you a case study to that effect. This is the launch of the Google Play gift card in Germany. And what happened in Germany was super interesting. There you go. Since launch, year over year, we've had a 70% increase in buyers. This is a number of users that are actually making purchases in Germany, right? So step one, more people are buying. Step two is we've had a 25% improvement in our conversion rate, which means how many users who click on that buy button actually complete that purchase. And that's important because you don't care about people pressing the buy button, you care about them completing that purchase. So we've had a 25% increase year over year. And what that led to is a 3x increase in sales in Germany. So this is a case study that represents the way we think about local forms of payment. You enable a market, you give it the right forms of payment, you get more users to become buyers, they increase their engagement, you then get better conversion, and ultimately, what you all probably care about is that sales are up significantly. And so we hope to replicate this elsewhere. So in Hong Kong, we've had an 80% increase in buyers year over year. And over that year, we've launched carrier billing and gift cards. In Russia, we had a 100% increase in buyers year over year. Again, launching carrier billing. And so as we launch these forms of payment, we're seeing that model replicate. Increased engagement, increased conversion, increased sales. Okay. That should probably not say starting today. It's been a while that we've actually enabled this feature, but essentially, payments are about consistency. And what used to happen in the past is that a user that actually uses carrier billing to purchase, when they came to their tablet, their Wi-Fi tablet, they could not use that form of payment, which led to just a broken experience. So a few months ago now, we've actually enabled carrier billing on Wi-Fi tablets. And so if you activate your carrier billing account through your phone with your SIM, that form of payment would then be available on your other devices, including Wi-Fi devices. This led to a really cool improvement in the user experience for tablet users, which is an extremely important segment for us. Also important to us, just like what we're talking about today, is enabling local content and local apps to be created. And so over the past year, we've really prioritized how many countries from which developers are able to sell apps into the global market. That's what we did here in China, and that's what we're here to talk to you about. And so we are at about 54, and actually the number is probably 62 or over 62 by now. And so you could see us continuing to push more and more markets where developers can build local content. Because as you know, as all of you probably know, it's all about local content. The more local content is there, the more engagement users you have, and from then on, the monetization cycle can begin. So really excited about this number. Okay, so now let's talk about what you can do to improve monetization within your apps. First off is localizing your listings. If you are targeting a market, you obviously can localize in every language and every market. We know you need to prioritize. But if you're targeting a market, if you're serious about a market, and you're investing ad spend, you're actually acquiring users there, you're doing user acquisition, if you're doing that, then you need to localize your listing. Dropping a user into an English language or Korean language listing when they're coming from Indonesia or Malaysia or any other combination, it just doesn't work. And so what we've seen actually, listings that are localized convert 6x better than those that aren't. And Pocket here does a really good job at that. Next is localizing your pricing. And this is one of those really simple things that actually cause a lot of trouble. You'll always hear that local developers have an edge over those that aren't local. That somehow the local developers know things that the foreign developers don't. Where this is one of those really simple things that local developers get right that foreign developers don't. In Japan, 100 yen is the right pricing format. It is not 101 in this case. And so while we have this really to use tool that automatically converts your prices into all 65 currencies, country currencies, you actually need to go through and understand whether is that the right price? What is the equivalent of that magical number that makes the purchase seem low cost or makes it seem significant? There are prices that, as we all know, that kind of mean those kind of steps in the user's mind. And converting in a purchase flow, any slightest thing can give users a pause, end up hurting your conversion. So when you do your pricing, think about the local market, think about the local norms, and adapt your prices to that. So 101 yen should be 100 yen. And we did an analysis of prices in Japan in particular, and we saw apps that are priced a little bit over and a little bit less than 100 yen actually converted 2x worse than those that aren't. And so think about this. This is important. This is one of those no-brainers that, please, you just have to do this. I think we've touched on this a few times today, but there are multiple models for you. And the point I want to make here is that your business model may actually vary by market. So different markets may have different buying patterns. In some, it's all about ads. Maybe it's the only way for users to pay, i.e. they can't. And so you're going to have ads primarily. In other markets, you may do in-app. Subscriptions is more of another dimension where certain types of apps do best in subscription. Others do really well in in-app. And so there are multiple dimensions to consider. And the important thing about this is that you need to decide at the very beginning of your product iteration. When you build your product, it fundamentally kind of depends on what kind of business model you're going to choose. If is it going to be like a feature upgrade, and so that's like more of an in-app. Is there recurring value that you're creating, in which case it's more of a subscriptions product, paid app, ads, etc. Subscription sales on Google Play have continued to grow over the past year. We're super excited about it, and we believe that it's a really good model for certain types of apps again. And so again, as you build your application and as you design it, think about whether you are offering recurring value for your users. If you are, then you should definitely consider using Google Play subscriptions. We're building out the platform to offer you all the tools you need to build a really good experience for your users. Now, another important aspect is if you have recurring costs, then you probably want to have either an in-app or a subscription experience, because a paid app or model obviously will not work out. So we've launched a few of these features already. So for example, we already have seasonal subscriptions that could work for sports types apps, content types apps. We've launched your ability to give goodwill credits. And what that means is when a user calls and they're not happy about something that your app has done to them, unfortunately, you can give them a credit or you can refund them a particular purchase. So that again helps with building user engagement and retention. We've also offered you now APIs, so you can issue these refunds from your backends. And so if you have already customer support tools, you can plug into our APIs and make this completely seamless for your support staff. Upgrades and downgrades is a feature we're working on now, and we're going to be launching that in the near term as well. What that will allow you to do is allow you to upgrade a user from one tier to the next. So a lot of times you have like an introductory tier where, let's say it's a storage app. You may have like a $199 tier for 1 terabyte of storage. Then you may have a 10 terabyte or 100 terabyte storage tier for even more. What we're going to do with this feature, allow users to swap between those plans very easily. So within your app, you can trigger an upgrade. The user upgrades, they get the right credits. We do all of the math in the back end, and the user just seamlessly changes plans. Okay. Chris touched on this as well, and I cannot stress this enough. It is incredibly, incredibly important. Building quality apps is just the baseline for being successful. And these numbers, everybody intuitively thinks and knows that building a higher quality app converts better and does better for you. But these numbers are staggeringly high, right? I mean, an app going from 2 to 3 star to 4 star has a 9x improvement in revenue. Going from the 4 range to like the 5 star or getting close to 5, obviously, you get another 4x improvement in revenue. So the ratings, the stuff that Ellie talked about around replying to reviews, fixing bugs, QA, all of these things actually impact your sales. They actually help you earn more from your app. And we know that a lot of you are obviously resource constrained. And so when you are investing in resources, you can either build features or fix bugs. We all have to deal with that. And so this number, what we're hoping to do is give you some data that can help you drive that decision. Give you some information that can help you make those decisions on a day-to-day basis. But quality is absolutely important. This is another kind of quality / basics type of thing. Apps designed for tablets monetize 10 times better than those that aren't. When you have someone using a device, they expect the app to work well in it. They expect it to be designed for that device. If you are not designed for that device, then don't target that device. But if you are trying to acquire users, again, tablet users or specific device users, then you have to build an application that works well and is designed for that device. This is really, really important, especially as we see more form factors become available on Android, whereas Auto, ATV, Android TV, or Wear. If, as Ellie said, if your app, so Wear you kind of get it almost for free, but you should check whether the basic experience works well. Of course, you can build really, really awesome experiences when you tailor your app's experience for that ecosystem. But the baseline is make sure that whatever device tier you're targeting, that it works and that it's designed for it and it works well in it. There's going to be more and more of these things, so you really need to stay ahead of it. Okay, so to summarize, I would like you to One of the first things we talked about is thinking beyond your familiar markets. Obviously, you are going to be reaching out to markets in 130 plus buy-in markets. And so that gives you lots of choices. It gives you a lot of countries you can target to. It gives you a lot of countries where you can do user acquisition. But be very mindful of what countries you're targeting. Be very purposeful. When you reach a market, design your app for that device. Localize your listing. Localize your pricing. If you're acquiring users in a market, just be very intentional about it. Being easily global on this platform has that double-edged sword of one, you reach 1 billion users, on the other side, you reach 1 billion users. And so you need to think about how will each of those users interact with your app and make sure that your experience is good. That's the second point around localize, localize, localize. And finally, continue to focus on quality. We on Google Play are extremely focused on quality and make sure that our users have a great experience on Android. And so success is directly tied to you building great quality apps. This is especially true, again, as the proliferation of devices and Android TV and Wear and Auto and all these awesome new opportunities. This is particularly true that you need to be mindful of the quality of your app in each of those platforms. That's all I had. Thank you so much. 谢谢。